Tono Bungay by H.G. Wells. Dramatised in 3 parts by Nigel Gearing. Part 1.
You flea-bitten villain, you vermin, you venomous viper, stand and fight, I say, or with this trusty steel I shall split you from stem to stern. Was ever a buccaneer who sailed the high seas and refused to defend the virtue of a fair lady? No, sir. Have it you. Take this, and this, and this.
Is that your boy out there, Mary?
Ma'am?
Under the cedar tree, waving the wooden sword?
It is, Ma'am.
The evenings are drawing out nicely, don't you think?
Yes, Ma'am. Shall we be clearing away the rest of the tea things?
Oh, yes. Yes, of course. And how old would he be now?
My George? 14 last month, Ma'am.
So this, then, is...
His summer holiday.
Is it really summer already? Well, well. So last time...
His last summer holiday.
You don't say. And the boy's father? Rose!
Anything else, Ma'am?
Thank you. That will be all, Mary.
Have it you, I say, and go hang all such horrible abominations.
Rose, you'll be about your business.
Yes, Mrs. Ponderevo. Thank you, Mrs. Ponderevo.
All's well upstairs, Mrs. P.
All's perfectly well, thank you, Mr. Abbess. But these girls they employ nowadays...
Oh, indeed, indeed.
I believe we have guests today, do we not?
We do. Oh, and unless I'm very much mistaken... Oh, allow me, ladies.
Oh, Mr. Rabbit. Always the gentleman. Quite like my poor late Sir Roderick. Good day to you, Mrs. Ponderevo.
Mrs. Mackridge, Miss Fison.
What are we waiting for? Tea's almost brewed. Oh, sit you down, ladies, sit you down.
Thank you.
Now, I think you'll find, Miss Fison, as peers of England go in before peers of the United Kingdom at large. And Lord Tweedsdale, him what he's gone to Canada, nice pleasant young feller as he is, well, he's merely a peer of the United Kingdom at large.
Is that so?
Oh, look it up in the old peerage, Miss Fison, if you don't believe me.
Oh, I do believe.
A little more cake, Mrs. Mackridge?
Oh, indeed. I don't mind if I do, Mrs. Ponderevo.
And yourself, Miss Fison, you'll permit yourself just a little bit more.
Mr. Rabbit, you're wicked.
Oh, come now.
Don't I always say, Mrs. M, I do believe Mr. Rabbit is almost as wicked as my poor late Sir Roderick's young cousin.
Oh, surely not. You don't mean him as got into trouble at Sydney when he was appointed governor?
I do.
How so?
Now, his fuss was quoting poetry at him, ma'am.
Oh, indeed.
What was it he said at some posh do or other in Sydney? Yes, that's right. He said, your forefathers left their country for their country's good. Well, tactless, weren't it? Reminded them of their originally being convicts.
And that boy of yours, Mrs. Ponderevo...
George?
Wasn't that him as we saw coming up the drive?
Indeed you did.
Head still always in those books of his.
Such as I can afford to buy him, yes.
He must be a comfort to you, Mrs. P.
He is.
And an anxiety too.
That too sometimes. That too.
Why, Mrs. Mackridge, you've let us leave that cup of yours empty. Yeah. One lump or two?
Two. Although...
Mrs. M?
They do say as how many of the best people do not take it now at all.
Not with their tea, ma'am?
Not with anything, Mr. Rabbits.
Hark! There be intruders come to this our fair desert isle. Hide you now. You're in the thicket.
I say, what was that? What was what? Oh, come along, silly. Don't call me silly. I tell you, I heard something.
Beatrice! Archibald! Come along! You'll be late for your tea as it is!
Saved again.
George!
Oh, hello, Mr. Hall.
I thought it were a poacher for a moment. What are you up to, then? Watching the knobs as they pass?
That's right.
Take my advice. Let 'em pass.
Good day, sweet ladies.
Oh, Mr. Rabbit. Quite like my poor Sir Roderick.
Rabbits?
Oh, Beatrice. You gave me quite a start. Now, what would you be doing in this part of the house?
I want to read in the library.
Yeah, then your word is my command, your ladyship. This way.
That's it. Miss Beatrice. La Belle Dame Sans Merci. I met a lady in the meads, full beautiful a faery's child. Her hair was long, her foot was light, and her eyes were wild.
Here we are. Honey, I could have sworn as I locked this door. Why, you little scallywag!
George? Is this true?
He can't deny it, Mrs. P. 'Tain't the first time, neither.
Well?
Bold as brass he were.
I was only reading.
Fair gave the little Lady Beatrice a fright and all. I was just unlocking it for her and...
Thank you, Mr. Rabbit. I'll deal with this. George, how many times do I have to tell you? There's upstairs and there's downstairs, and never the twain shall meet.
The books, Mother. It was only the books.
George, never forget. Her ladyship's been kindness herself to us. Where would we be without her generosity and goodness? Well, what have you got to say for yourself? There's only one thing for it. You will go and you will apologise to Lady Drew in person. George, you're a trial to me.
Oh, that he is.
Got the devil in you.
Oh, that he has.
And I know where it's coming from.
Not from you,
From
Mrs.
his father, that's where. His father was just the same, never satisfied with his lot.
Oh, is that why he ran away to Australia and was never heard of again?
Well, I'll be smitten by God.
You little bounder.
Repeat that, young man. Repeat what you just said.
Please excuse the intrusion, Mr. Rabbit. It's about the boy, Mrs. Ponderevo. Your boy.
He'll be making his apologies, Miss Somerville, as will I. You can be sure of that.
No, it seems... Well, it seems the young Lady Beatrice would like...
Yes, Miss Somerville?
Well, she'd like to borrow him.
Borrow him?
That is correct. For tea? Well, George?
Yes, Mum?
Would you like some more cake?
Thank you, Mum. I have some already.
Somerville, why does that boy suck so when he drinks his tea?
Shh. Eat up your sandwich.
And what is he exactly?
Why, that's Master Ponderevo.
Is he a servant?
He's a schoolboy.
Then may I talk to him?
Well, just as long as you don't talk too much. Here, let me cut you some cake.
Hello, schoolboy.
Hello.
Somerville, I've got a wonderful idea.
Mm-hmm. And what's that?
That boy with the dirty hands and the frayed his coat.
Beatrice.
He's much more interesting than Archie. He's even more interesting than Rabbit.
Well?
I think I want him, Somerville.
Beatrice?
I think I want him for myself. All the rest of the holiday.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can. Ask Bea.
I say he can. Look, Archie, it's simple. Georgie and I, we go and hide. You come and seek. Got it?
But
this way, George. Follow me. Here we are. If we just stand on this wall. Up here, it's like you could fling yourself off and soar down the wind. You could see right over Westwood, right past Bluebell Wood, and all the way down to the sea. Well, won't you come up and join me?
Listen, that Archie.
What about him?
Well, is he your sweetheart?
Archie? Whatever do you mean?
Do you love him eternally and truthfully till death shall tear you asunder?
He's my brother, silly. Well, my half-brother.
Well, how can you have half a brother?
Besides, I don't love Archie. I love you. Swear to me you'll never be a servant, ever.
I swear it. Till the day I die, I'll never be a servant.
So, what will you be? Will you be a soldier?
And be balled up by duffers? No fear. Well, I'd rather go into the Navy.
But wouldn't you like to fight in battle, hand to hand?
Of course. But it's no honour to be told to be looked down upon by some rotten officers while you do it.
Then why not become an officer yourself?
Fat chance.
Oh, couldn't you? Georgie, why ever not?
Because I'm a poor man, and poor men can't become officers. They go into the Navy, especially if they know all sorts of mathematics like me.
Do you?
I do. You wait. I'll be another Nelson. He loved Lady Hamilton, although she was a lady. And I will love you, Bea, I swear.
Beatrice! George!
It's Archie.
Snifty beast. Ignore him.
But...
Beatrice!
Come here.
Why?
Come here, I say. You vow to be my humble, faithful lover, till death shall tear us asunder.
I vow to be your humble, faithful lover, till death shall tear us asunder. Careful.
Then this is for you.
Blimey.
Beatrice!
Oh, this way.
Georgie!
Quick!
Going?
We're hiding here, see? Under the fronds.
The what?
The ferns. Oh, don't you know anything? You can crawl through here and no one will spot you. It's like a whole forest in miniature.
Silly. You can't have a forest in miniature. Well, can you?
Follow me. Oh, can't you smell it? It's beautiful.
Georgie, it's awfully dark and quiet.
Yes.
I'm scared, George. Can I put my arms around you?
Well, yes, but...
Well, don't you like it when I put my arms around you?
I do, but...
And don't you like it when I kiss you like this? And like this? And like this?
Yes.
And like this?
Yes, in fact. Here.
And now you catch me.
Well, George, you certainly seem to have made an impression on Lady Beatrice. And young Master Garville. Seems they've asked you to play with them next Sunday, too.
Sunday, Mother? Well, on Sundays, don't we always go to...
We do. But next Sunday, Lady Drew pays her annual visit to the Vicarage of Rokedene. Don't you remember last summer? The people of the village, they're always so grateful. So I'm asking you to be very, very good while I'm away. Do you promise, George?
A tribe of Indians?
Right, I'm the Spanish nobleman.
I'm the Spanish nobleman's wife.
And you, well, like we said, you're this whole tribe of Indians. Spanish Indians.
But we can't have that.
Why not?
Yes, why not? We've built you a wigwam, haven't we? You can stay in it as long as you like.
We ran away, and will you come and find us?
Eventually.
And your prize, your booty, is to carry her off. Carry off Bea.
If you're lucky. If you find me.
But this won't do at all.
Why not?
Well, for a start, he can't be a nobleman.
I don't see why not.
And you his wife?
What are you saying?
Well, it's not on, is it? It's as simple as that. It would be impertinent. He can't even read Latin.
And he drops his H's like anything.
What does that matter?
Yes, you heard. What does it matter?
There you are. Earned.
Well, if that's how you feel, here's my hand and you can have it on your head.
Why, you...
Don't call me names, you stuck-up bugger.
Go on, George. That's right, Archie.
Oh.
Come on, George.
Hey, you don't let a fight like that.
Who says a scrap is a scrap, ain't it?
It's not the Queen's rules.
Go hang the Queen's rules. Take that.
Hey, not so fast.
Go on, Archie. Give it to him, Georgie.
Well, had enough, have you?
Gosh, there's someone coming.
Say it.
George.
Say I've had enough.
Archie.
Have.
Georgie. Oh, hello, Mummy. Miss Somerville?
Fighting? Surely there's not been fighting? Archibald? Beatrice?
It's all his fault, Mummy.
Heavens above! It's the Ponderevo boy, isn't it?
It is.
How dare you, young man?
He cheeked me, so I clouted him, that's all.
How dare you?
He broke the rules.
What rules?
He didn't fight fair.
Archie.
We were just waiting here in the warren to welcome you home, won't we be? Then he came up and started hitting me. And then...
Beatrice? Can this be true? You at least should know better. Well, Beatrice? Have you nothing to say? Nothing at all?
No, Mummy. It was as Archie said.
George, have you no conception of what a wicked, ungrateful boy you've turned out to be?
It wasn't true what he said. It was a fair fight.
The disgrace of it. Did you never think of me, your mother? Fortunately, in that respect, Lady Drew has been, as ever, generosity and goodness itself. As for yourself, if you were prepared to admit you behaved badly, if you were prepared to go up to young Master Garville and beg his pardon...
I won't beg his pardon, nohow.
Then you leave me no choice. You must go off to your Uncle Frapp at Chatham. He might not be much to look at, but he's a good, hard-working man, a baker...
I don't care where I have to go, or what I have to do. I won't beg your pardon from that Archie.
Then so be it. Oh, George, continue like this and what will become of you?
We will now kneel in prayer. O Lord, we kneel before you as
On your
miserable
knees, George.
sinners, come to beg
You heard.
forgiveness for
On
our
your
sins
knees.
and transgressions. Come to seek in the arms of you, our Lord, refuge from the devil and his manifold works.
George, you'll be sharing your bed with your cousins Jeremiah and Joshua. Right, Jeremiah?
Right, Father.
Right, Joshua?
Right, Father.
And we rise at 5.
5 o'clock?
Anyone tells you there's no point at rising at dawn, and I'll tell 'em they're falalas. That's what they are. We bakers, we're happy to make the bread we break in the name of the Lord. Aren't we, wifey?
We are, for all our problems.
Let your Aunt Betsy be an example to you, young George. The suffering this woman has known.
One day you'll see it, young George. God has sent us many children, has he not, Nicodemus?
He has.
And most of them he's taken back.
That too.
Yes. God in his wisdom has made us, your uncle and me, suffer twice over. The having and the losing, the coming and the going.
We was born to suffer, wifey. But it's God's will.
That we was, and that it is.
So, my lad, off to bed with you, And don't forget to say your prayers.
Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy...
You're keeping quiet, cousin. Won't you join us in our prayer?
Well,
Hell and eternal punishment wait you else.
Our God is a vengeful God, says Father.
He does. Well, cousin, we're waiting.
I think I'll just listen.
God our Father...
Hold up. George, you don't say your prayers and it's the eternal bonfire for you it is.
Eternal punishment. Hell.
Says who?
What was that? What did you say?
Who said there was hell and eternal punishment? No god worth his salt would be such a fool as that.
You mean... You're not to listen to this, Joshua. Cover your ears. You mean you're saying there is no God? 'Cause remember, if there's no God, why, you might do just as you like.
Well, if you're swine enough, I suppose.
That what you're saying?
If you like.
I've never heard such a thing. Brother, we must go down on our knees and pray for the soul of this sinner, this blasphemer. Brother!
Oh, I'm still covering my ears, brother.
Then uncover them. Down on our knees, I say. Forgive him, O Lord, for he knows not what he says. He is nothing. He is a
Listen.
wretch.
Pray as much as you like, but if it's all an excuse just to cheat me, there I draw the line.
Oh, infidel.
Is this possible? George!
That's the way it were, Father. He hit me for telling you about his blasphemies, and I turned the other cheek.
Oh, he's got the evil one riding on his back now, and no mistake.
Come here, George.
Ah! Let go of my ear, please! Ah!
See that? Hey? Hey? What's that? Tain't the balm of Gilead, I'm thinking. Tain't the gourds that give shade and water in a thirsty land. No. What is it?
It's the bakehouse fire.
It's the fires of damnation. That's what it is. Hellfire. Tell me this.
Let go of my ear.
Suppose you was took sudden in your sleep, eh? Where'd you be then? That's where you be, in there amid all them flames. You want to wake up in there, young George? Burning and screaming forever? That's where you'll be if you don't repent your wicked, wicked ways. And there's only one way to repent. Repeat after me. Joshua, Jeremiah, you too. Forgive us, O Lord. Forgive us our foolish ways. Forgive us our... I don't hear you, George.
Let go of my ear. This God of yours.
Yours, mine, all our God.
Well, if he does exist, well, I'm sure you don't square him like that. If God's that kind of coward, damn me here. Damn me here and now.
Oh, Nicodemus.
Just you wait till our chapel hears this.
O Lord, come among us is a sinner of tender age. Come among us is a blasphemer, O Lord, in the shape of a mere boy. Help us, O Lord, to go down on our knees.
On your knees, George. This instant.
So we may wrestle for the soul of this sinner in our midst. So we may wrest him from the sweaty hands of the devil.
No!
George?
Oh, stop him, Nicodemus. Stop him from making
Stop it, someone! Stop that boy!
Excuse me.
Yes? What do you want?
Is this the way to Bladesover?
Bladesover, you say? Oh, that it is. But you've a ways to go yet, young fella. Where you come from, then?
Chatham.
Chatham? Oh. You done all that way this morning? You must be keen. Would it be family you're visiting? I say, young fella! Yes?
Hello, Mr. Rabbit.
George, what on earth are you doing here?
I want the truth, George. Have you run away?
I have.
And have you no explanation?
I won't go back, Mother. I'll drown myself first.
Don't speak like that. I forbid you to speak like that. Well, you can't stay here. That much is clear.
Mother?
Lady Drew considers you... I'm ashamed to say this, George, but then who can blame her? She considers you a bad influence on the other children. No, she has put her foot down.
Then?
The suffering you have brought me. I don't know what to do. There's only one last thing I can do.
Mother?
You should bring us both to this.
Wimblers! All alight here for Wimblers! No tickets, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you. I think there's somewhere over there.
Let me see. I understand your uncle's shop is in walking distance, George. This way? I have not seen your uncle, your other uncle, since he was, well, almost a boy. In those days, according to your father, he was supposed to be clever. About 3 years ago, I heard as he'd married and set himself up in business here in Wimblehurst. So I suppose she had some money. Ah, I do believe this is it.
Yes, madam.
I think you're the person we're looking for.
Is that right? Well, I sincerely hope so. If you just care to step this way, madam, and you, young sir. Huh?
And now...
I don't know where to begin.
Do we ever? Perhaps you was admiring my shop front. Tain't no ordinary communal garden Wimblehurst shop front. Oh, no, as I hope you'll agree, ma'am, but then... I likes to think as I'm no ordinary communal garden Wimblehurst kind of chemist, neither. Now, pharmaceuticals, perhaps? A touch of the headaches, hot flushes... not perhaps disorders of the womanly kind. No, well, excuse me for even asking. Then, well, your husband, perhaps? I stock an extensive range of the apparatuses for the master of the household, as trusses and...
Please? The boy.
Oh, of course not. Begging your pardon, ma'am. Begging your pardon, young sir. I know you was taken by my little shop front display for Ponderevo's extraordinary coughlinctus. Stock it up now. It's twopence cheaper than in winter when you'll need it. That's it. Why didn't I guess? I'll just pop through to the supply room and...
Do you really not recognise me at all, Edward?
Huh?
Teddy?
What? Oh, my Oriental gums! Oh, 11,000 virgins! It's George's missus! Then this must be...
Quite. Little George.
Oh, Susan! Susan, come down here, my angel! I tell you what, even better. Come through to the parlour and meet the lovely Susan for yourself. And you, young George, an especial delight to meet you. That's right. Oh, never mind the boxes and the mess. Yes, ignore that old contraption. One of my little schemes, but some other time. Susan, you there?
What's you up to now? What's the old excitement then?
Susan, it's sister-in-law Ponderevo.
Teddy?
Dick George's wife. And she's brought little George, hasn't she, young fella? Well, Susan told you about them 100 times.
Why, delighted, I'm sure. You're very welcome. Though, I confess, it's a surprise. Crikey, it's not as if we've got anything to offer you, have we, Teddy?
Oh.
We're all out.
Unless, of course, him old there concoct something from his old chemicals.
No.
Which, believe you me, is perfectly equal to do it.
Oh, Susan.
Very pleased to meet you, I'm sure. George, kiss your aunt. George.
Oh, now that's all right, George. Don't you be all worrying about that. If you don't like to kiss me, well, I can't say I like kissing strangers either. Aunt or no aunt. Now, just you all sit down where you's all comfortable.
Yes, now let's sit down.
Edward, Teddy, this isn't merely a social call.
No?
It's about the boy.
Oh, what you about then, eh, George?
There's things I need to discuss.
Teddy.
Oh, discuss away, right, Susan?
So, perhaps if George here could...
I'm sorry.
Teddy.
Oh, right you are. George, why don't you come along with me, Mo? I've got a secret I want to share with you as pertaining to that sleepy old Wimblehurst out there. Now, tell me what you see.
Uncle?
Huh?
Well, there's this street, and there's a churchyard opposite, and that old dog asleep in the road.
Oh, would you credit it, eh? How short of midday are we now? And here's Wimblehurst dead.
Uncle?
Well, ain't it sleepy? There's no jump about the place, George, no life. And, yes, as you say, look at Ruck the butcher's old dog lying there slap in the middle of the road, its paws on its ears, and them flies buzzing about it. Why, if the last trump sounded, I don't believe that dog would wake. Do you? Nobody hereabouts would wake. Well, them chaps over there in the churchyard, they just turn over and say, nah, tell us another one, you don't catch us like that. Here he comes, the man himself, today and every day, 12 o'clock and 7 o'clock, down the Eastry Arms, chin wagon in the billiard room with Ma Bell the grocer and Snape the barber. Good day, Ruck.
Hello there, Ponderevo. I see there's a fresh card up in the window. So it's Cough-linked us now, is it?
New season, new ideas, Ruck. I'm an innovator.
Oh, yes. So the cold insurance scheme?
Ruck.
You mean to tell me it didn't catch on? And I suppose before long, this too will be innovating into something else, will it, Mr. P, eh?
Cold mutton fat.
Uncle?
Up to their arms in it, dead and stiff. Oh, no, George, between you and me, not my milieu at all. Hereabouts they just trickle. I'm the cascading sort, always was. Well, like your dad. And, oh, heaven knows I've tried all manner of things. Well, best of all, well, yes, that insurance scheme of mine against colds. Pay just a little each week, and then, the moment you can produce an authentic sniff... But would they take to the idea hereabouts? No, they was blind to it.
And the secret, Uncle?
John? Oh! Pleased you reminded me, young fella. Very pleased indeed. You see over there... Well, there, beyond Alstroff, there's a pair of stocks. Supposed to be medieval-like. From the time of the knights and peasants. Now, the secret is them stocks, they're made for no human being this side of Timbuktu. You could put a whole elephant in them stocks, George, and he'd still be up and trumpeting within the hour. Well, go and see if what I'm saying ain't so. And just you come back whenever you's bored, all right? It's a great career, great possibilities for a young man.
Shh. You've been behaving yourself, George?
Yes, Mother.
Of course he all has.
Now, George, listen here. Your mother, your Aunt Susan and me, we've been talking of turning you into a chemist.
Crikey. George, I had hoped once that Lady Drew might do something for you. Spoken to someone or got you into some position. But then it seems, I'm sorry to say this of you, George, it seems you're not the sort of boy things are done for. You don't accommodate yourself.
Oh, a bit independent, you might say.
Disobedient.
Now, you tell me, George, have you learned any Latin at any time?
Me? Learn Latin? But
He has not. I think you'll find the Queen's English is good enough for most of us.
What do you say, Aunt Susan? He'll have to learn a little Latin to qualify, materia medica and all.
Oh, Teddy! There's that old fella be-what's-it down at the grammar school here. He knows Latin.
She means the grammar school down the road was just been rooted into existence again by the charity commissioners.
George could have lessons there.
What do you say?
What, me learn Latin? Do you really mean it?
Well, if you have to learn Latin, you have to, and that's that.
Just a little.
But I've always wanted to. Latin.
Oh.
George?
Oh, you hear him, old Susan? Why, he's just like his father. Well...
That he is. Oh, dear me. That he is. Now, George, your aunt and uncle have been generosity itself. You're to behave. You hear?
Yes, Mother.
There's a little trust fund in your name I've been able to give them. Not much, just a few £100. But you must learn. And above all, you mustn't set yourself up against those who are above you and better than you. Understood?
Yes, Mother.
Stand back now.
Oh. George.
Mother?
Kiss me.
Why, Mother, you're crying.
Be good, George. You hear? Be good. In memory of your mother.
So, P equals constant times 1 over volume, which is to say if the volume of a fixed mass of gas at constant temperature is inversely proportional to the pressure, then...
I urge you, Teddy Ponderevo, coming on with your Latin inscriptions on them bottles. What? Put a label round it, George. Oh, lamb jig it's called. Oh, lamb jig indeed. Where's Holman,
And if the volume of a fixed mass of gas at constant pressure is directly proportional to the absolute temperature, which is to say P equals constant times T, where T is in degrees Kelvin.
I'd like to put a label round the middle of you, so I would. And I'd put Lord Pondo on it. That's Latin for imposter. Yes, a label and a stopper in the top.
A stopper, you said. It's you that want to stop her, my angel.
Come try and give it me, right?
But that's not possible. Start again. If the volume of a fixed mass of gas...
Here it comes! Hey, big stopper! Right on those big lips on yours!
You have to catch me first, Larry!
Of course!
Oh, George. We're still at your homework. We're almost ready to eat.
Leave him be, Aunt Susan. Never happier than when he's at his books, right, George?
Right, Uncle.
Oh, sacramental wine. Well, who could that be? We closed an hour ago.
I'll go. Uncle, I don't think you're in any fit state to receive customers. Indeed, I don't. Overexcited.
Now, Susan. By the way, George, mind lending me some of them squared papers of yours?
Oh, you mean
the... Yeah, that there for your calculus and variations exam.
Oh, graph paper.
That's the stuff. Hand me some of it, will you?
Of course. But why?
Stock exchange. Meteorology. That's why. Creston Hollows.
Uncle?
Little theory. I'll explain it later, perhaps. Oh, George, your Aunt Susan and me, we's proud as punch at how you've tamed your studies these last few months. Proud as punch. Why, I bet you could teach old Ruck and them others down the high street a thing or two about gas and states of matter, as am I right?
From what you say, Uncle, sounds to me like old Ruck is no matter and all gas.
What? What's that you say? Why? Aunt Susan, listen to what our George just said. You say that again, George, for Aunt Susan,
Teddy, George, weren't no customer. Was the postman.
Why, this, huh?
A special delivery paid for by Lady Drew, care of Bladesover House.
Aunt Susan?
Oh, George, this letter, why, it's the saddest old thing. Your mother, your poor mother.
And the life, saith the Lord. He that believeth in me, yea, though he were dead, yet shall he live. And whosoever liveth and believeth in me shall never die.
Remind me, Rabbits.
Yes, your ladyship?
Would that be her boy over there? Mrs. Ponderevo's boy?
Indeed, ma'am.
So that rather portly individual in the badly dyed trousers and that ridiculous silk hat.
The boy's uncle. Him as what looks after the boy nowadays, I believe.
Indeed, you don't say. Trifle inconsiderate, didn't you feel?
Ma'am?
Mrs. Ponderevo, to die on us suddenly like that, before we could even find a replacement.
Well, a fine spring morning for it all the same, ma'am.
Spring, you say? Is it really spring already? Well, well.
It's all right, George. I'm just here, and your uncle's over yonder all chatting to the vicar. You want to cry? Just you go ahead. Why, I didn't even notice. Nobody did.
George, busy with that homework, are you?
Well, Uncle, another exam next week.
I know, but come through to the shop, will you? Now, about that Mother Shipton sleeping syrup, you shelved it where I told you.
This morning, we've cleared our forward stock.
And the quinine?
Top shelf left, like you said. No, we're running low.
Oh, splendid, splendid. The more space, the better.
Eh?
Space ready and waiting for Tono Bungay.
Sorry?
Isaac, let's get some air. Evening, Ruck.
Evening, Ponderevo. Cooking up your next brilliant scheme for us, are you?
Oh, my. Don't change to it. Anyone with a bit of buzz and sizzle, anyone prepared to say snap, they moved out years ago. As for them that's left, well, oh, look at the place. You can't happen to think, George, of something everybody wants and hasn't got. I mean, something you could turn out retail under a shilling, say.
Perhaps I should get back to my homework.
George, I've been thinking... Oh, I wish I'd been born American. America, now there's a land where things I mean, take their stock exchange, take Wall Street, take cornering.
What's that?
Well, imagine, for example, that quinine on the shelves there. Then imagine there's a tropical war breaks out, see? And on our shelves, we just happen to have all the quinine in the world. That's cornering. Well, I ask you, picture all the suffering babies yowling for it. What would them doctors do?
Well, They'd find it rather a nuisance, wouldn't they?
Nuisance, George? Nuisance? They gotta look out for themselves. By Jove, yes. They'll do you if they can, so you do them, right? Like brigands.
Like what?
You're up in the mountains, right, the Balkans, with all the quinine ever was. Well, soon as they snap, along comes some millionaire's pampered wife, gone ill with malaria.
I thought you said babies.
No, there's a squeeze. And no mistake, outside, in his motor car, some millionaire offering you for your quinine any price you'd care to mention. What would they make of that in Wimblehurst now? I tell you, nothing. Because they got no romance in their soul.
Romance?
Yes, indeed, the romance of commerce, George. Men made or done for in an hour. It struck me, I said, quinine. Could have well have said mines and railways. Could have said Union Pacific, George.
Uncle?
1 week the shares is up, next week they're down. Now, to the untutored eye, it looks like, well, hit and miss.
Well, isn't it hit and
Don't
miss?
excuse me, George. Your Aunt Susan and me, I've said it before, we're delighted the way you've come on in your studies, but this, it's a matter of experience. The trained eye. Crests and hollows. Buy on the hollow, sell on the crest. There's a system. Scientific and verifiable.
Is that why you wanted the graph paper?
And that is not all. Listen.
I'm listening.
Tono Bungay.
What?
I'll try again. Tono Bungay.
That's what I thought you said.
Huh?
Well, what?
What is it? That's what you've got to ask. Then, what won't it be, eh?
All right. What is Tono Bungay?
I'm afraid I could say no more at present, George. Industrial secret, don't you know? But watch this place. I tell you, there's more to follow.
Oh, George. It was never anything grand, this shop of ours. But it was a larky little old home to your uncle and me. And our first. I think I'll just hop upstairs, powder the old nose.
Well, I believe that's all, Mr. Mantell. You'll find it a quiet little business, so long as you run it on quiet lines.
Right you are, Mr. P.
But any problems, if you need to know anything else, business, place, or people, I'll always explain fully. You got the address of our new London residence. By the by, you might find you're just a little overstocked on pill anti-bill.
Mr. P?
Well, these last days, I found it soothed my mind making them amid all the upheaval, so I just carried on making them thousands.
Oh, I'm sure I'll manage. And you, George? Seems that you and your indentures are part of my stocks too now, eh? Well, I'll just out and take the air down the high street. Leave you to make your farewells and all.
Well, that's that. I do believe.
So it's lock, stock and barrel, Uncle?
It is. It is. Oh, your aunt's unhappy, of course. It's made her cry. Well, who wouldn't it? But, well, she's a first-rate brick, whatever comes along. Now, buoyant as ever. He's a corker. As these crises has tried character.
And my apprenticeship?
Oh, now, don't worry about that. Mr. Mantell says he's perfectly satisfied to transfer it to him. He's a good man, George. Oh, my. The battle of life, eh? Ups and downs. I could have sworn them Union Pacific calculations would come up trumps.
The crests and hollows, you mean?
Well,
Uncle, You could have used my trust fund.
It was 100 to 1 that I was right. 100 to 1. I left out just one tiny factor in my analysis. I worked it out afterwards. And here we are, spiked on the off chance. If only I'd have kept back a little. Just a little. Why, I'd have had it on UP next day like a shot and come out on the rise. Bob's your uncle.
Well, there's my trust fund. You could use that.
You know, the lesson I draw from this: never put all your resources onto the one chance. Have forces in reserve. Yeah. See, I've been pondering in my night watches since. It's a reproof for pride. At bottom, I'm a mystic in these things, I suppose. You calculate you're going to do this or that, but at bottom, who knows at all what he's doing? And when you most believe you're doing things your way, why? You're being led.
And my trust fund?
George?
Would it make any difference if you were to use that?
I did use it.
What?
Well, after all, I'm a particular like I am, careful like I am. Do you think I'd have touched those Union Pacifics with a single penny of your trust money if I hadn't thought it a thoroughly good thing? And there's some of it left, George. Oh, a little.
How much?
Oh, never you worry about that, my boy. Soon as I've got time to sit down and figure it out on paper, I'll calculate just how much I owe you, and mark my words, I'll pay you back 20 shillings in the pound before I'm done. See if I won't. I'll be writing to you. Now, your Aunt Susan and I, well, we've got very comfortable little rooms up there in London. Not the scenery nor the air we get round here, perhaps, but very comfortable, considering. And my new situation, I got it within 24 hours. An important firm, one of the best. Yes, I looked to that. Others offered, of course. I might have got, say, 4 or 5 shillings a week more elsewhere. But I said to them plainly, your wages, they're to be going on with. Opportunity's my game. Development. Yeah. I think we understood one another, George. It's just... damn them others.
Uncle?
Ruck the butcher, Marbell, the grocer, Snape, the barber, all those damn stick-in-the-mud-and-die slowly tradespeople hereabouts. How they'll grin. It's not quite the way your Aunt Susan and me meant to leave Wimblehurst, eh?
Well, here's old Orf to home number 2.
I can carry some of those.
Bless you, George. How I'll miss you. But Mr. Mantell, he'll see you well. He's a good man. Kind. And I'll never wrong about people.
Need a hand, Mrs. Ponderevo?
I'll manage.
So, it's off to make your fortune elsewhere then, is it, Ponderevo?
Pleasant day, Ruck.
Off to innovate up in London, eh?
You half-witted hog. My, that's a load, Aunt Susan. What have you got there? A whole needle workshop? So, kiss your aunt, George.
Of course.
Stick to your old science and things, you hear? Them verifiables. Then write and tell me when they make you a professor. You promise?
And George, that other private matter between us...
You mean Tono Bungay?
Not a word. No, the money.
My trust fund.
I will be writing to you fully about that. Mark my words. Well, here we go. Bye-bye, George.
Bye, Aunt Susan. Bye, Uncle.
Good luck. Good night.
In Tono Bungay by H.G. Wells, George was played by Paul Keating, Uncle Teddy by James Laurenson, Aunt Susan by Diane Bull, and Mrs. Ponderevo by Annie Tobin. Lady Drew was played by Pauline Yates, Beatrice by Una Beeson, Archie by Sam Crane, and Uncle Nicodemus by David Cann. Miss Fison was played by Gilly Mears, Mrs. Mackridge by Diana Payan, Rabbits by John Evitts, and Miss Somerville by Rachel Atkins. Jeremiah was played by David Thwaites, and Ruck by Colin Pinney. All other parts were played by the company, and Tono Bungay was dramatised by Nigel Gearing. The director was Claire Grove. Tono Bungay by H.G. Wells, dramatised in 3 parts by Nigel Gearing. Part 2.
Come.
You asked to see me, sir?
I did.
Ponderevo? George Ponderevo?
Ah, indeed. Shut the door, will you? A telegram addressed to you here, care of College, Ponderevo. If you intend to continue here among us, try to use the place as something more than a postal office, right?
Will that be all, sir?
No, that will not be all. I am the college registrar, not the college porter. Better sit down. How old are you now, Ponderevo?
21, sir.
And this is the 2nd year of your degree course here in engineering.
It is.
So, what went wrong?
Sir?
I have your file here in front of me. At school you consistently proved yourself an outstanding pupil, above all in chemistry and mathematics. And notwithstanding what many would recognise as severely adverse circumstances of domestic, family nature, you completed your indentures. You won a scholarship from the Pharmaceutical Society, but deciding not to continue with pharmaceuticals, you win another scholarship, this time in mechanics and metallurgy, here to us at University College. First year, splendid exam results, solid work in the lab. And then what, Ponderevo?
Sir?
You tell me, if you can. Your practical work seems to stop dead. Your attendance becomes lamentable. As for your most recent examination marks, good grief, man. Why, in this last exam there was even a girl got the better of you. So, what do you have to say for yourself?
Nothing, sir.
Nothing? Think, Ponderevo. What will become of you when your scholarship runs out? There's not any, personal explanation, is there? Family or a woman? Have it your way. Ponderevo, you came up to London as a scholar. Do you seriously wish to leave it as a spoiler and a scoundrel?
Of course, if I'd had the nerve, I'd have told him the truth. I just want to marry you and let his damn degree go hang.
You shouldn't talk like that.
Why ever not? I love you, Marion. I love you. It's all I ever think about.
Stop that! Mother and Father might hear.
And what if they did?
Well, besides, you shouldn't. It's not right. Not yet.
Oh, Marion, all I need is a little capital and we could be married.
What's the good of talking like that? To get married, you'll need more than a little money. My girlfriend Smithy, her brother got married. Well, you need 300 a year. And when are you ever going to earn
that?
Oh, but Marion!
Oh, there you are.
Father, this is George.
Oh.
I told you about. When I couldn't find my purse on the omnibus and he
Indeed,
money.
George. I may call you George.
Certainly, sir. How do you do?
Well, Mrs. Ramboat and me wanted to thank you for the kindness that you showed to our Marion in that matter of the bus fare. Well, that's why we invited you to tea.
I'm delighted to be here, sir.
Marion tells us she's bumped into you down at the Science Museum as well.
Well, to be truthful, scarcely bumped into, sir. I'd seen her in lunch hours and...
Well. Of course, there's a lot of this science about nowadays. But I sometimes wonder a bit what good it does, don't you? I mean, give me eat. For me tomatoes allotment, I could do such a lot with eat. But it's not the sort of thing you science fellas care about, I'm thinking.
Sir?
Well, tomatoes, eat.
Oh, I don't know about that, sir. It seems to me that science is not just for the here and now, it's the future as well. In fact, I'd say one of the most
Well, I'll go and find the missus. See about that tea.
George, did you have to wear a collar like that? Mother's so particular.
You still haven't answered me. I love you. I want to marry you. Don't you love me, Marion?
Well, I don't know. One has to be sensible. I like going about with you, George. Can't we keep on as we are? As for that tie...
Oh, what's wrong with it?
Well, you tie your handkerchief... Oh, come here, Money. There now. Isn't that... Oh, what's this?
Gosh, the telegram.
What telegram?
Care of Ponderevo Properties, indeed. What properties?
George, where are you? Come this address, double quick. Tono Bungay.
Tono what?
Tono Bungay.
What does that mean?
George, that you? Come in, boy, come in. If you just give me a minute while I finish this piece of business and... Now, Sydney, ain't it?
That's right, sir.
Well, tell me again what you're to do, Sydney.
I'm to walk up and down, Farringdon Street, wearing, this thing.
Oh, put it on, old chap, put it on. What use a sandwich man when it's all sandwich and no man, eh?
And, shouting, the secret of vigour, Tono Bungay. The secret of vigour, Tono Bungay. The secret of vigour...
Yes, I think you got it learned off all right. Well, what you waiting for?
Sir?
Oh, go to it, man. Take the message to the people. And, Sydney.
Yes, sir?
A little more vigour yourself, perhaps.
Yes, sir. The secret of vigour, Tono Bungay. The secret of vigour, Tono Bungay.
Oh, dear, you see that fella's hat? Fair treat, you don't see poverty like that in Wimblehurst, no chance. But then, that's London for you, ain't it? The centre of civilization, the heart of the world. A whirlpool, a maelstrom whirls you up and whirls you down. And before I go any further, let me say, oh, how very nice to see you, dear boy. What do you think of these new premises?
Well, I'm impressed, but how did you ever afford...
There's no need to whisper it now, George. Shout it loud, Tono! Tono Bungay!
But, Uncle, what is Tono Bungay?
What is it not? You come through here. Come here and see the words. Now, this here is the packing department. Fred and Eustace.
Fred.
Morning, sir.
Morning, lads.
Morning, sir.
Now,
Morning, Mr. Ponderevo.
Don't skip on that straw, boy.
Here you go, sir.
And this here is the art department. Jane, actually, them posters, labels on the bottle, that's her work. Everything all right, Janie?
Fine, thanks, Mr. P.
Splendid, splendid. Now, through here is the typing pool. Effie and Mary. Just show my nephew George round.
Effie, Mary.
Morning, sir.
Morning,
And now, through here is the laboratory, the temporary laboratory, you understand? I'll just find my key. I have to lock it, of course, industrial secrets and all, but you and me, scientist to scientist, eh, George? A privileged peek into the mysteries of creation. Well,
but where's the laboratory?
This is it.
But just these old bottles and tubes and a tank of what? Coloured water?
Well, there is the odd special ingredient.
Oh, you mean that cheap brandy on a filter? Yeah. Why, that's the noise. I thought I knew it, the dear old air pump from Wimbledon.
You got it in one. And remember this over here, Aunt Susan's sewing machine.
Well, I'll be damned. Well, how is Aunt Susan?
Exuberant. I never saw her so lucky. And my, is she looking forward to seeing you again. I tell you what, let's turn these off a mo. So, what do you reckon? The air pump, sewing machine, put them together, and from the other side of that door you get a very convincing laboratory sound, wouldn't you say?
Oh, very convincing indeed.
You see, I had the name, I had the notion, I just didn't yet have the product.
And now you do?
Oh, read the copy, George. Here.
Beware all other advertised nostrums. You don't need drugs or medicine, simply a proper regimen to get you in tone. You need Tono Bungay. Yes, Uncle, but...
Now, try this one.
Are you bored with your business? Are you bored with your dinner? Are you bored with your wife? You need Tono Bungay.
Now this.
Never fear fog or any sort of weather. Tono Bungay will hold you together. Uncle, I can see what Tono Bungay pretends to be.
Pretends, George? Pretends?
But please, what is it?
Listen, what say I tell you over lunch, huh? The Schaefer's Hotel, perhaps?
So, Uncle, Tono Bungay, it's just another patent medicine, right?
Oh, no, just another about it, George. Believe me, this is big. And we're only at the beginning.
You mean today Farringdon Street, tomorrow the world?
Why not? Another cigar?
No, thanks.
Yeah.
But is it... well, honest?
Oh, absolutely bona fide.
Then, well, splendid. Good Lord. Even to imagine you one day sitting in a place like this.
Did you see how they knew me at the door? Live place, George. I for the coming man. I'm afloat on the fierce flowing tide. The ocean's my home, and my bark is my bride.
Uncle, please, people are looking.
Oh, let them look.
Oh, but to get even this far, however did you find the capital?
Oh, this wholesale chemist, that temporarily embarrassed printer. Promise a long credit here, share of profits there. Then the old magazine and newspaper. I played them off one against the other, didn't I? Now, I know by rights that business of your trust fund. I suppose I ought, well, in strict legality, to have put that straight first. But... oh, it was a bold thing to do, George. And thank the heavens, it's all come out right, as you can see for yourself. And I repeat, this is only the beginning. Once our advertisements start to appear regular, well, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Mark my words, if Tono Bungay don't become a household name. So now, this is where you come in, eh? What do you say?
I'm very happy for you, Uncle. Really, I am. For you and Aunt Susan.
George, that ain't what I wanted to hear. Nor your Aunt Susan, neither. Oh, we want you in on this. I need you. Fact is, I've always believed in you, and trust me, I know a bit about character. You've got, well, a sort of dismal grit. Bark your shins, rouse you, and you'll go. Oh, the way you put away that Latin at Wimblehurst, whoosh. The way you sorted out my shelves and my stock keeping, whoosh. Then your science and all that, whoosh. Come in with me. You shan't have to write a single advertisement or piece of copy. That's my line. You It's the developing and organising I need. I can offer you 300 a year straight off. Eh? What do you think?
So what did you say?
Well, I said I'd think about it. Look here, Marion. To get married, how much do we need?
What's the good of going
But
over it?
would
I
you
mean,
marry on 300 a year?
That's £6 a week. One could manage on that easily. Smithy's brother, no, he only gets 250.
Will you marry me if I get 300 a year?
If?
Then it's a bargain. We shake hands on it.
Closing now!
Well,
oh, this is silly.
Closing, ladies and gentlemen, please.
Do we or don't we?
If you insist. Then, Mutney, this means we're really
Yes, Ming?
engaged.
Yes.
Oh, Mutney, you'll have to wait years. What good can it do?
Through here, sir, if you would.
Hello, it's George.
Oh, very lovely to see you again.
Oh.
Shall I serve the tea now, Mim?
Oh, not till Mr. Ponderevo comes, Clary. That'll be all for now.
You're looking very jolly, Aunt.
Why, George, you're a man.
What did you expect?
Been in love yet? Well, all in good time. So, what do you think? It's a swell house, no?
Oh, indeed. Thank gosh you've even got a maid.
Well, he all says the business will stand it.
Either do that or smash.
You are coming in. Oh, George, don't say you won't.
But Aunt Susan, do you quite understand? It's a quack medicine. It's trash.
Well, there's no law against selling quack medicine that I know of. It's our only chance. If it doesn't go, I could see him, silly old concertina. Don't sing that one, you old walrus. Sing I'm afloat.
Hello, George. Come along at last, have you? Oh, got some tea cake, have you? Had time to think it over?
Look here, Uncle. Did you really mean that when you said you'd pay me 300 a year?
That's nothing. The thing to freeze on to when the time comes is your tenth of the vendor's share.
But listen, the 300, is that guaranteed or not?
If you really want it so much, I could practically pay you 300 here and now across this teapot. So, what's it to be?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. There where you were bottling and packing, you ought to cover the corks before labelling round the bottle.
George?
Huh? Why?
Because sometimes they'll make a mess of the cork job and then the label's wasted. And here's another thing. Why, in the devil's name, do people continue to build these boxes for packing, put the stuff in, then nail on the lid after?
Oh, because they always have. How else do you do it?
Oh, why not pack the bottles from the side, then nail up it quicker, fewer breakages? Why, Tono Bungay would practically pack itself. As for those poor girls you've hired, working without ventilation, you'll get twice the work out of them if I'm...
You hear that, Aunt Susan? Whoosh! Whoosh! Welcome on board, George. Welcome on board.
Oh, and by the way, there's something else. I'm intending to get married.
George!
And about time, too.
Why didn't you say to me, at least? Who is she? Tell me everything about her.
She's called Marion.
Oh, and is she beautiful?
I don't know. I think she might be the most beautiful person in the world.
Well, this is splendid. Aunt Susan, we should waste no more time. Hold us a little dinner party to meet the lovely bride. What do you say? Next week, perhaps, George? After you settle in? Now, George, you've seen the factory. Here's the terrain.
The what?
Battle lines, plan of attack. Come over here to the map. Pink underlines for the orders, flags for the advertisements, selling up already. First the middle classes in London, then the outer suburbs, then the home counties. Conquest, province by province, like soldiers.
Shouldn't we have another look at the bottling first? It all seems so slow.
Well, perhaps we should. What did you have in mind?
Well, take a look at this. It's just a sketch at present, but here we have a tap and a concentrate of the mixture, right? And here we line up the bottles on a glass incline made slippery with running water.
Splendid!
Now, this I'm really proud of. It's a level indicator, a kind of float arrangement.
I'm afloat on a fierce flowing tide.
Uncle, please.
Right, George, sorry. Far away.
Now, here's a second tap, this time with distilled water.
More old gravy, Marion.
Thank you.
That's right, lash it on. Well, I can't say often enough how good it does me to see young George here so finely set up.
And to meet you, Marion.
Thank you.
So, you'll be looking for somewhere to live, I suppose?
Yes, we...
That's the spirit. And by the way, don't worry about money when you do. We'll help you, won't we, Susan? Why did I say 300 a year? 5, I'm reckoning now, to get married on.
I was thinking, perhaps if we could find somewhere near the business, so I'm accessible to St Paul's or Cannon Street or...
George? Is that a good idea?
How do you mean?
The girl's got a head on her shoulders. After all, only a matter of time before Tono Bungay needs bigger premises somewhere else.
But...
Marion?
Ealing.
What?
Ealing's where I'd like. Away from all the smoke and bustle. Nicer, quieter sort of people. George?
Well. So, tell me, Marion, you'll be having a big old splash for the wedding, I suppose. Carriages and top hats and all the men in them funny waistcoats. What stops them from talking proper because it gives them indigestion?
Susan.
If we can afford it.
If you can, I'll see to that.
I was rather thinking...
George?
Well, couldn't we settle for a registry office? I mean, do we really want all that kind of circus with fripperies and superstitions?
I shouldn't feel married else.
Well...
I can't marry at a registry office.
Why ever not?
Well, it's horrid. I can't. I won't, so there.
Do you really mind so much, George?
After all, chacun son goût. Hey, Marion? Horses for courses?
That wasn't no horse. Nor the first course neither was quality beef.
Well, who can tell when it's Aunt Susan's a la carte, eh?
What, me, Teddy? Put the old cart before the horse? I'm sorry, Marion. Uncle Teddy and I was only trying to...
I'm afraid I'm not clever enough to understand that sort of conversation.
Marion, it's not a question of clever, it's...
Well, if we can't seem to agree on anything, I don't see why we should go on talking, do you?
Put in anyone.
You look tired, George.
Up half the night, Uncle, that's why. Working on this drawing for the new labelling process.
You looked at the map lately. We're going into Wales.
We are? And, capital costs? Overheads and expenditures for the next audit? That's all been done.
Your skill, George. Your strength. Oh, and by the by, the wedding, not long now, I'm thinking. Have you and Marion settled that little difference of opinion over the arrangements?
You could say that. No carriages. No thousands of guests, no church bells banging away, in fact, no church altogether.
Is that so?
Absolutely. I put my foot down.
George, here's to you and Marion. She's looking lovely. Yes, a lovely-looking girl.
Anything wrong, Aunt Susan?
Wrong? Of course not. Just me old weepies coming on.
George, here's Smithy.
Oh, yes. Now, how are you, Smithy? Enjoying yourself?
I'm sure my brother and his wife had more bridesmaids than this.
You don't say.
But then you seem a little, shall we say, underrepresented in general.
Oh, whatever can you mean?
Just your aunt and uncle. But then, we know about you, George. You clever chaps, you're so brainy, you've probably stored them away in a bottle. Ready to wheel them out when stocks run low. Like Tono Bungay. Yes, like Tono Bungay.
Well, here's wishing you well, George.
Thank you, sir.
See there, across the way? There was a funeral there yesterday. Quite a smart affair it were, with a glass hearse and all.
You don't say.
Now, an hearse like that, the sun shining through it, that'd be the answer to all my problems.
Sir?
Glass hearse like that, and me tomatoes would grow like anything. All the very, very best, George. Have a very, very nice time.
God bless you both.
Have a wonderful holiday now.
We shall.
But you'll keep your mind on that design we mentioned, won't you, George?
Sir?
To make me tomatoes grow.
Splendid honeymoon.
Take care now. Lovely time.
Oh, well, thank goodness that's all over.
Mutney?
Next stop, Hastings. A new life, new horizons.
Oh, you look so lovely.
Why, thank you, darling, but you were the lovely one, my little Ming.
And you're not cross.
Cross? Why?
Well, having it all proper.
Oh, my dear Ming. Here, let me give you a kiss.
No, just a little one.
Oh, Ming.
Well, I think all that champagne of your uncle's...
You only had a couple of glasses.
Yeah, well, I think it's given me a headache. Promise me something, Mutney.
Darling, you have only to name it. The sun, the moon.
Promise me you'll buy a silk hat and a black coat so you'll always look nice for Sunday. When we go to church with Smithy.
So, tell me what you think of this new poster Janie's come up with for Scotland.
Scotland?
Well, of course, being away, you ain't had a chance to look at the map. England, Wales, booming, George.
So now...
Tono Bungay, Thistlebrand. And here's our old fog poster.
Right, but...
Well, you see that pea souper? Well, the odd stag here, the occasional eagle over there, and a splash of purple heather, and Bob's your uncle. We got ourselves an authentic Highland mist. What do you say?
And a fella in tweeds and a bowler smoking a briar?
Simple.
Uncle?
We give him a kilt.
You don't mean they're in full view of everyone?
I do.
But what did the other girls say?
They was too busy gawping to say anything.
Oh, so there you are. Been looked after, Smithy. More tea?
I was just saying to Marion, George, that mirror on the mantel, why, it needs covering.
Whatever for?
Don't all the best people cover their mirrors?
Oh, pay no attention, Smithy. George likes such queer things.
Like a good solid armchair to read in, you mean?
My brother and his wife, they've covered every mirror, every light fixture.
You don't say. Oh, goodness, what's that thing?
George.
That's my little housewarming present to you both.
Smithy's so kind.
Well, you can't have a house without a rubber plant in the window, can you?
But I can't get to my books anymore.
All the best modern people do. And I'm nothing if not modern, you know.
It's lovely, absolutely lovely. Isn't it, George?
My God, Uncle. Those people in the waiting room, are they all trying to sell us an idea?
Oh, morning, George. So, what's that you say?
I said those people out in the waiting room.
Listen, been thinking. What do you say to Tono Bungay chocolates?
Well, rather that than the last one.
Eh?
Tono Bungay for seasickness, was it?
Oh, just flying a kite. That's all no good hiding a light under a bushel. No, but this, no, it's the real thing. I can see it now. Climbers hanging from the cliffs, cyclist champions, mounted messengers on the Aches to Ghent ride, soldiers lying in action under a hot sun. And here's the snap. You can go for 24 hours on Tono Bungay chocolate.
I notice you don't say whether you can return on the same commodity.
How do you mean?
Well, I can see it now. Aromatic. Attractive.
Oh, good.
Likely to become a bad habit and train people in the use of stronger tonics. Insidiously dangerous to people with defective kidneys.
Ah, George. Oh, by the way. Splendid dinner last night at the Guildhall. Did your Aunt Susan and me proud, they did. And I met a most interesting young fella into soap.
Soap?
That's right, except he wishes he weren't. Family business, don't you know? His pa and his uncle popped their clogs on practically the same day, and there's our young Jiminy What's-it having to carry on the business to Searle while hating every bloomin' moment of it. George? Well, I'll be frank, almost gave me the business there and then on a plate, he did, if I just promised to step in and take it over. Says he wants to wash his hands of it all. I say. No, that's rather good. You get him to soap him wanting to wash his hands.
You don't remember his name, of course.
Oh, well, 11,000 virgins. Oriental gums. I'll be snookered if I do. Well, I'm sure I wrote it down somewhere, sometime.
On your cuff, perhaps? Sometime during the brandy and cigars?
Oh, my cuff, of course, that's it. I'll just go and... Oh, crikey.
Don't tell me. Clary's been and gone with the laundry already.
Found it. Oh, what was the name of that soap? If I could just remember that. Only one thing for it.
Uncle?
Get Perkins up here right away, give him a bob or two.
Yes?
Then tell him to pop down Fortnum & Mason's double quick. Tell him I want to see half a pound of every brand of soap that's ever been put on the market.
It wasn't Moggs by any chance?
That's a fella! Oh, I knew I could rely on you, George. Moggs Domestic Soaps. Another very attractive addition to the Ponderevo portfolio, wouldn't you say?
Just as long as it sells.
Oh, it will sell, my boy, you can be sure of that. I can see it now. Moggs Primrose Soap, as used by Moggs the First, Moggs the Second, Moggs the Third, and why, I shouldn't wonder, as it was used by the Black Prince himself to clean himself up a bit. George, Black Prince who needed...
Did you think they used soap in those days, did you?
Oh, well, that's a good point there. I'll tell you what. What say we get one of them eminent historians to run us up a little biog? None of your drum and trumpet history. No fear. What we want to know is, what did they put in their hot baths after a round of jousting, eh? And in the Middle Ages, did they do anything for housemaid's knee? Yes, tell us that, I say. The home, George.
I'm sorry.
We got to bring the home up to date. That's my idea. We got to straighten it up, organise it, make a civilised domestic machine out of it. Hey, you know what? We ought to bring in some of them new art chaps to design for us too. Now, what do you say? Beautiful jam pots, as would do Frederick Morris proud, instead of all these silly, ugly things we got round us. Patent carpet sweepers by those Greenwood chaps. Bedpans you'd wish to polish up and hang on your walls. Oh, housemaids' boxes it'd be a positive pleasure to fall over. Yeah? You see the notion, George? You get the picture?
Oh, George, you know I don't like you to do that.
Oh, why ever not? We're well and truly married, aren't we? Have been for months.
Yes, but, I mean, there's a time and a place for everything.
Then let's go there now, upstairs.
At 7 o'clock in the evening? Before we've eaten had supper? What? That's horrid.
Oh, very well. And another thing.
Yes?
Oh, never mind. It's not for me to say, but do you have to wear curl papers in your hair quite so often?
Well, it's only when I'm about the house.
Yes, but...
Well, after all, there's no one likely to see, is there?
You mean no one but myself?
That's right. Oh, by the way, I've asked Smithy over for the weekend.
Again?
She hasn't been for weeks.
2 weeks, actually.
George? Is there something wrong?
No, nothing wrong.
You're looking a bit tired, George. You work too hard. Marion bonny as ever, is she?
Yes, though...
George?
Well, all marriages...
There you are. Tell me, George, what do you think of Napoleon?
Oh, Tono Bungay Napoleon brandy, perhaps?
No, this new book of your aunt's on Napoleon Bonaparte.
I wondered where that had got to.
You don't sometimes figure, as there's a certain resemblance when I stand in profile against the light, so my left profile, of course.
Did old Boney look like he'd swallowed a cannonball too, Teddy?
Now, Susan... Well, never mind. Cigar, George?
Why not?
I'll be off to finish our packing
Now, we
then.
pay people good money for that.
I haven't break that new china I bought, no fear. Good to see you, George.
Here for anything special, old chap?
Oh, not really. Just Wales, Scotland. And now we're about to offer Tono Bungay to the public, the flotation and all.
We're afloat.
I thought, with your permission, I'd do a quick run round the country, just pop in and check everything's shipshape.
Oh, good idea. Nothing like seeing the chaps behind the counters, I find. Pumping it all into the great stomach of the people. Besides, do you good.
Uncle?
Get you out of the house for a bit.
Quite.
You want to take the accounts with you, of course, be au fait on the paperwork.
Gosh, I never thought of
I'll
that.
tell you what, why not ask one of the girls to help you? That Effie, for instance.
Do you have to? First Cardiff, then Edinburgh. Don't you employ travellers for that sort of thing?
It's not the same.
Anyone would think you didn't like staying at home. Did you never think I might get lonely?
Good grief, when your friend Smithy's round here practically every day.
You've never liked her, have you?
Did I say that?
Well, if you're going to carry on like this, leaving me so dull, I shall go ahead and do it. I shall get that lovely little terrier we saw in the shop. I've already chosen its name.
Which is?
Miggles.
So now there's the three of us. Mutney, Ming and...
Miggles, yes. Oh, won't that be lovely?
There you are, Mr. P. All typed up.
That's really very good of you, Effie.
Oh, had to be done, didn't it? Can't have you going up north empty-handed. Well, you'll be off then.
Yes, although, what about yourself?
Sir?
Why, it's Friday night and I've kept you slaving away long past your time to go home.
Oh, well, me, I'm staying up west for the weekend with a girlfriend.
Oh, then may I take you to dinner?
Oh, what about your train?
Oh, they run trains in the morning, don't they?
Oh, you're quite right.
George!
Susan!
Over here! You found us then?
I grew up near here before I ever knew you. If I stand here on the terrace, and if you look due south...
And Marion?
Well, and Uncle Teddy, is he here?
Oh, he's here, all right. He's over there talking to Mrs. Mumble. At least I think she's called Mumble. They're all called Mumble, as far as I can gather. Tell you what, grab yourself a cucumber sandwich and there's tea there beside you. Lashings of it. Hey up, here's trouble.
Why, Mrs. Ponderevo.
Hello, Vicar. Meet my nephew, George.
Oh, delighted, I'm sure. Mrs. Ponderevo, I was just now saying how splendid a gathering it is. To think that fine old Lady Grove is finally inhabited again. One so misses the house influence, I find. You see, down here in Kent, well, life can grow just a little dull. The youngsters drift away to London. I often think music's one answer. But alas, our penniless little church down the road... Now, if only some kind benefactor could find it in himself to donate a new organ...
I say, Vicar, I spy a whole bevy of people with empty cups over there. Would you mind very much to old trot about with a tea urn?
Oh, only too delighted. Trot. Excellent expression.
So what do you think of this new house of ours?
It's splendid. What's happening over there? Beyond the pond?
Oh, blow me if your uncle hasn't already had the drains up. And yes, most of the lawns with them. You know, I sometimes think what pleases him most is to stand there in the mud and the muck, up to his old ankles in it, dispensing whiskey to the workmen like he was cock of the yard. Lord Muck indeed. As for them colours he's chosen for the paintwork inside, he's only gone and given each bedroom the name of some old hero of his. No prizes either for guessing what he's called his old snuggery.
Napoleon?
Got it in one. What a splotcher. If it weren't for the maids, I'd sneak up there myself. I'd paint old Pondo on the door.
George! There you are at last.
Hello, Uncle.
What say we sneak away to Napoleon and have us a chin wag, eh?
But I'll tell you one thing, George. Them herbaceous borders over there.
Aunt?
I think I've found me a vocation.
This way. Come in. Have a whiskey. No. Oh, wise man. Wise man. Listen, I've been thinking. Tono Bungay, then Moggs Soap Limited, and after that, well, as you know, Skinnerton's Polishers, Runcorn's Minces and Coffee Mills. All our domestic utilities, or do-oot, as I believe they're already calling it down in the city. It's just, well, I've been thinking, and when I get to thinking, you're always the one I turn to first.
Uncle?
Just, I'm asking myself, this what we've built up, is it enough, George?
Enough? Uncle, Tono Bungay's paying 12 nowadays.
Well, 13.
Household services 10, do-oot 11, Moggs domestic 7.
8, I think you're fine, George.
Then on top of that, Roburn's antiseptics, Hodgson's soaps and bath crystals. You bought them up, all of them.
Well, grasp the cosmic oyster while it gapes.
What more could you possibly want?
I want culture, George.
I'm sorry?
You heard. Culture. Damn it. We aren't au fait.
Eh?
Socially, we're not au fait. I'll come to the point. It isn't any particular thing, but the other night, your Aunt Susan and we was at this etiquette banquet. I ate too much of that fishy stuff at first, you know, like salt frog spawn, and to tell the truth, I was a bit confused by the olives, and, oh, well, be damned if I knew which wine was supposed to be which. Had to ask each time. I mean, well, for one thing, puts your talk all wrong, don't it? And it's not good for business. We can't have gentry hereabouts calling us poovenues.
So what exactly did you have in mind?
First thing, it's to learn the whole blessed game, right? Beat 'em at it. Like, which wines? Would that be Samour, sir, or Burgundy? We got to get us more style. Le style, say, l'homme. And how long do you think I need? To beat 'em at it, to learn the whole bag of tricks and get culture. What, 6 months?
Ah, Effie. Is that one of the new typewriters?
It is, Mr. P.
I want you to come away with me.
Again? Well, shouldn't
Listen, we can't talk here. Where'd you go at 5?
Along the embankment to Charing Cross. None of the others go that way.
About 5:30 then?
Yes, 5:30.
These invoices go, miss?
Yes, Bert.
Well, I'm glad they're working properly, Effie. Just let us know if they have any teething problems.
Right you are, sir.
There. Marion?
You've come home.
Well, did you think I wouldn't?
Where have you been this time?
East Coast. There's been quite a surge on the sales front down there. In fact, it seems we no sooner bring in a new supply than they're off the shelves and...
I know.
By Jove. I believe you do.
And then you come home to me. I didn't dream. How could you do such a thing?
Who knows about this? How do you know about this?
Smithy's brother and his wife. They saw you and they were at Cromer, the same hotel.
Confound Cromer, yes.
How could you bring yourself...
I should like to wring Smithy's brother's neck.
I'd always thought that anyway. You couldn't deceive me. Oh, I suppose all men are horrid when it comes to this kind of thing.
I didn't mean you to know. It's rough on you, but I had the devil of a time. You've never cared for me.
I have cared for you. To think of you and her. Who is she? Where is she now? I don't believe I can ever touch you again.
Did you ever want to?
What do you mean?
Have you ever once, in all the time we've known each other, wanted to be with me physically? Wanted to make love with me? Wanted to go to bed with me? No. To you it was always horrid.
Well, I suppose to her, this woman, it's not. To her, it's perfectly natural to do these things with another woman's husband and...
Admit it. It's not all sniggers behind your hand with Smithy.
I just like you to be nice.
The mere thought of it, of making love. It's revolting to you.
And what if it is? Is it my fault if I'm made the way I am?
No. It's not your fault.
Oh, you must hate me.
Marion.
I made you wait, and now, I suppose you've had your revenge. Oh, thank heaven we never had children.
Did we ever discuss it? Did I ever get the chance to talk about it? So, I'll go upstairs, I suppose. I'll go upstairs and put my things in the spare room.
Mother is coming to have tea with us today. Try to behave, won't you?
Haven't I always? Till now.
Do you love her? This woman?
I'm not sure I know what love is anymore.
But you want her. This minute now, when we're talking about her.
Yes. Yes, I want her right enough.
And you refuse to give her up?
I won't do that. I can't do that.
Well, then, if we can't live together, we ought to be free.
I don't know anything of divorce, if that's what you mean. I don't know how it's done. I shall have to ask somebody or look it up. Perhaps, after all, it is the thing to do. We may as well face it.
And all this life together, you've hated it?
Not all this life together.
And this? Is this the only way?
Oh, Marion.
Oh, tell me, promise me. This can't be the only way. So, here we...
Yes. I believe we do.
Oh, George. Is it really too late?
Oh, Marion, please.
I've been such a fool. All my life is a wreck. And now I shall be alone. Mutney, don't leave me. I didn't understand.
You think I did?
No, don't leave me. Don't leave me.
We'll stay in touch. You know, about the legal things. Goodbye, Marion.
Oh, George.
mind now?
Oh, I don't know, Aunt. I really don't. Oh, Marion will be all right financially. She'll never have to work again, I've seen to that. And left her the house in Ealing. Why, I dare say her tiresome friend Smithy has already moved in with her.
But you, what about yourself?
Well, I'll buy a place near her work. And I'll continue to see Effie, of course. And she said the other day, if it wasn't love, gosh, it was fun all the same. I tend to agree. Is that terribly irresponsible?
Perhaps you need a bit of fun. Tell you what say we go shopping uptown, buy ourselves a huge cream tea and spend the evening in an expensive restaurant being very loud and noisy.
Georgie, you all right there? Counting the raindrops?
I swear I saw an air balloon. And then a cloud covered it and... Yes, darling, I'm all right, really.
Hey, Gloom Kings! Did you love your wife so well?
You know, Effie, there's so much I don't understand. That life is a thing that hurts. It hurts without logic or reason. I've blundered and I've hurt in my turn. I just didn't understand. Anyhow, there's no need to go hurting you, is there?
Oh, you just try it, George Ponderevo, and see what you get. Here. Come here. Time to cheer you up.
Oh, good to see you back on your feet, George. Long drive down, though.
And a long week.
So, how can I help you?
Look here, Uncle, I'm sick of this.
Hello? What's up?
Things are wrong.
How's that?
My life. It's a mess. An infinite mess.
Oh, listen, George, these last few weeks, you, Marion, well, I mean, I partly understand, perhaps, but it's past history now, ain't it? Besides, there's just as good fish in the sea.
Uncle, it's not that.
Oh, that friend of yours, Effie, is she the problem?
No, not Effie.
Oh, then...
Effie's grand. Effie has been my salvation. It just... Well, one day she'll want to take off, I know that. She's got brains and she's young, she'll want to lead her own life. That's her charm. And, Uncle, I want my own life to lead as well. I feel I've been making Tono Bungay since the day I was born.
Oh, served us well, George. Served us very well.
Of course it has. I'd be a fool to deny that. It's just... I'm sick of all this damned rascality.
Aye? Aye? What rascality?
You know. I'm a different sort of beast from you, Uncle. You float in all this bunkum.
This what?
I feel like a man who's floundering up and down, east and west. I can't stand it. I must get my foot on something solid or... I don't know what.
Well, you've left me behind on this one. Now, what can you mean? Tono Bungay's solid?
I mean, I've been thinking it over. All of it. I've made up my mind. I shall go in for work. Real work.
Well, what do you call this here that we do?
I've got an idea. It's an old idea I thought of years ago, but it's come back to me. Look, why should I fence about with you? Uncle, I believe the time has come for flying.
Flying?
Aeronautics, machines heavier than air. It can be done, and I want to do it.
Why, is there money in it?
I don't know, and I don't care, but that's what I'm going to do. I've been talking to this engineer I've met called Cothope, Arnold Cothope. Good man. He's solid. Oh, I'm sorry, Uncle. I don't know how to put it. It's just a question of confidence. Confidence in what I do. Confidence in who I am.
We've been making confidence ever since I drove the first cork into Tono Bungay. We mint faith, George. That's what we do.
And by Jove, we've got to keep minting it.
Coining it, more like.
I'm sorry. Well, no. I'm a man of my word, as you know. Haven't I always said that little loan of yours back in the Wimblehurst days?
Do you mean my trust fund?
I always promised you I'd pay it back fourfold and with interest. So, you have my blessing for these researches of yours. You can rest assured of that. Oh, and money for the labour, the equipment.
Thank you, Uncle.
George, to turn your back on Tono Bungay. Why, next to these flying machines of yours, there's no comparison.
Uncle, you don't seriously suppose Tono Bungay ever improved the lot of mankind by as much as a hair, do you?
Well, there must be something there, or why else would the great British public be flocking all this time to buy it off the shelves just as soon as we restock them, eh? You answer me that.
But don't you see? You call it faith.
I do.
Well, I call it fiction. One huge, courageous fiction. People down there in the real world, they swelter and toil. Great railways grow. Cities rise to the skies and spread wide and far. Mines are opened. Factories hum. Foundries roar. Ships plough the seas. And what for? So the likes of you and me, we can get rich on their backs.
Steady on, George, steady on. You're sounding like a socialist.
And then go scorching about the countryside in our magnificent motor cars, making ourselves conspicuous and stately in splendid houses, eating and drinking like gods. And what do we give back? Not just you and me, Uncle, so many others of these so-called knights of commerce and, oh, heavens, I don't know, buccaneers of big business. We give them just an illusion. We give the people down there a specious hope of improvement and betterment which has no more substance, no more solid, lasting reality than a mere bubble. A thin, transparent soap bubble, full of false promises and empty assurance.
George, you've a hard nature. Always have had. Very hard.
Well, that's it, Arnold. You and I have earned our weekend. But my, don't it look good?
As models go.
Arnold?
After Christmas, do we start to build the machine itself?
Heavens above. Christmas.
Mr. P?
I'd almost forgotten. How time flies.
Let's hope not just time, eh, sir?
Yes, let's hope so, Arnold. Not just time.
In Part 2 of Tono Bungay by H.G. Wells, George was played by Neil Dudgeon, Uncle Teddy by James Laurenson, Aunt Susan by Diane Bull, and Marion by Jaquetta May. The college registrar was played by Steve Hodson, Mr. Ramboat by James Taylor, Smithy by Vivian Rochester, Sidney by James Telfer, and Effie by Geraldine Fitzgerald. All other parts were played by the company, and Tono Bungay was dramatised by Nigel Gearing. The director was Claire Grove. Tono Bungay by H.G. Wells, dramatised in 3 parts by Nigel Gearing. Part 3. George has joined his Uncle Teddy's business selling a cure-all called Tono Bungay. Uncle Teddy is now building a mansion in Kent with the profits, and George is busy working on a design for an airship.
What do you say, George?
In Xanadu did Kubla Khan a stately pleasure dome decree.
Stand over here. One day we'll put the drawing room windows here and you can see clear down to the sea. We're on a crest. Crest Hill. Oh, yes, indeed, a new kind of house for a new kind of century, 4 square to the winds of heaven.
Well, you'll get the winds up here, all right.
A mammoth house it ought to be to suit these hills, eh? Great galleries and things running out there and there. See, I've been thinking it through. Yes, all looking out this way across the Weald with its back to Ladygrove.
And all those trees on Farthing Hill, won't they obstruct your eastward prospect?
Oh, simple. We shift them.
What?
The hill, the trees, we shift them, dig them up and relocate them 200 feet that way to the south.
Blimey.
What do you think?
It'll cost you a bob or two.
No expense spared, George. Show value, huh? Marble from Canada, timber from New Zealand. The best architects and planners, they're thinking about it for me already.
I bet they are.
Yeah.
I should be getting back to the workshop. This, well, it's all splendid. But I really must be getting back to Arnold.
That's the spirit.
And Ladygrove, meanwhile?
Oh, well, that'll still be our home for a good time yet. Why, this Crest Hill for now, it's just a dream.
Dreams and a great deal of scaffolding. You made a start, at least.
Well, never too soon. I mean, look at you and your flying machines. No sooner you got the idea than whoosh, and you're away. Oh, proud as punch, your Aunt Susan and me. We are proud as
It's
punch.
just a balloon with an engine, Uncle.
Just, he says, just.
And gliders apart, there's only the one, the Lord Roberts.
Once upon a time, there was only one bottle of Tono Bungay. And now, look, there's not a corner of this great British Empire of ours where it don't sell like there's no tomorrow. Huh? You'll be coming over to Ladygrove for the weekend?
I will. Oh, can I give you a lift anyway?
No, I thought I'd pop up to town for an hour or so.
But it's almost evening.
Oh, business, don't you know? Yes, just, business.
Steady now. Steady.
You all right, Mr. P?
Never find her. Here, help me out of this, will you, Arnold? How did he look?
Well, I think we're getting there. But my Dooney's still kick. It's our old problem, Mr. P. Longitudinal stability.
So, what do you suggest?
Well, I've been thinking. What say we redistribute the load to offset the pitching?
How so?
Well, look at it this way. Our main problem is the negative side of them wing curvatures.
Go on.
So what if we widen the carriage and extend the netting right across here to the first set of rods?
This way, Lady Osprey. Lady Beatrice.
Thank you.
How nice of you to drop in.
My late husband always believed one should pay a visit to new neighbours.
Indeed.
My, but how the place has changed. And in so many ways. You must understand I knew it in the old days, before...
Mother?
Before.
Well, of course you did. Since your day, I'm sure things have changed a lot, your ladyship. Them old knights cavorting about on the off chance of a dragon or two.
I beg your pardon?
Not to mention their ladies in their cone hats and their veils. Balmy on the crumpet.
Whatever can you mean?
Sit you down. I always take tea about now. Some squashed flies, perhaps?
Excuse me?
Some Garibaldis.
Oh, thank you.
The tea's on its way. And here's old George. Lady Osprey, Lady Beatrice, my nephew George.
B!
George!
Do you two know each other?
Beatrice?
I'll say. Aunt Susan, I have known Beatrice almost as long as I've known myself. Oh, thank you, Clary. Lady Osprey, Beatrice, may I do the honours?
this you'll remember.
Why, the gallery, of course. How very beautiful.
George,
Yes?
do you forgive me?
Forgive you? Be all those years ago?
I gave you away pretty completely, didn't I?
Well...
And afterwards I gave away Archie too. Heavens, what a spanking they gave him. George, you know, when it was all over, I went back there. Back to our wigwam.
Out in Westwood?
I went there and I cried and cried. For all the evil I'd done you.
Long ago and far away.
But I've often thought of it since.
Beatrice, are you following?
Oh, here, Mother. I'm here. George, I can hardly believe this. However did you get here?
Here?
All this? Weren't you the son of the housekeeper?
You recognised me all the same. Bea, tell me what you've been doing, where you live and...
Oh, of course, the house went to the Philbricks, the newspaper people. You knew that.
I did hear something about...
And now my stepmother and I, we live in the little dower house in the grounds.
Beatrice, will you not come and see the upper walkway? It's very picturesque. Beatrice!
George.
Are you there?
There are so many things I want to know about you. 100 things. This flying, for a start. What...
I don't know where to begin. The idea's simple enough. You combine a modified gas balloon with an engine and rudder controlled by steel rods. Then you... Bea?
Oh, George, I've known such duffers of men. All my men were here already. They couldn't have got here otherwise. But you've climbed.
If you can call it climbing.
I've remembered you ever since. You know, I've used you.
How do you mean?
As a sort of model, an exemplar. But then, somehow, I don't know, in my stories you were always rather difficult.
Bea?
In clothes that were ready-made, a bit like a Labour MP.
Is that so bad?
No, but... And it turns out you're not a bit like that, really. And then again, you are. George, the other day I heard some men talking about you. Except then, of course, I didn't realise it was you. Is it true? You could run for Parliament? Why are you laughing?
It's like all those years ago when you asked me if I was to go fight hand-to-hand as a soldier.
Well?
Flying. Putting together these airships, making them soar. That's my ambition. That's my only passion.
And a lot more dangerous than hand-to-hand fighting.
Beatrice! Beatrice!
Oh, dear. Time to go home. So tell me, this soaring, where do you do it? Can I come and watch?
What, Susan? Oh, whatever's the matter?
Oh, you know me, George. There's always been my gardening and my reading and then my physiology classes at Birkbeck, but... Oh, you've come in at the end of it these last few weeks.
Tell me.
Remember when your uncle got my silly old portrait painted by Robert the R.A.?
Yes.
Remember that at home in his studio? You came too. There was this novelist. Leastways, she called herself a novelist. Magazine writer, more like. Name of Helen Scrimger.
I do vaguely remember. A blonde woman with a lot of diamonds, rather substantial.
Plump, I'd say.
You don't mean...
I do. He's confessed. Infatuated he was. He says she used to call him God in his chariot. Silly old porpoise.
Oh, Aunt.
My, is he contrite now. Now she's gone off to South America or wherever it's all tears and blubbering. Can scarcely look me in the face.
And it is all over?
Oh, I put my foot down. Told him he wanted smacking. Old passion's one thing, but this was just nonsense. I'm not going to let him show off to other women what a silly old lobster he is at his time of life. In abdominal belts, indeed. No. In future, I'm going to mark every scrap of his underclothes with red letters. Ponderevo privates, keep off. And you know what got him going. For once, when he goes out and buys a book for himself. Same subject as ever, of course.
You don't mean...
That's right. A book called Napoleon and the Fair Sex. George, you busy?
Well, tomorrow we take out the Lord Roberts again. We're planning it for dawn.
Do me a favour, will you? He's uptown saying he's too ashamed to face me. Pop up there, just for this evening, and to tell him he can come back, will you? He can come back home, and not another word said.
Oh, I've been such a duffer. I mean, your Aunt Susan, of course, she's been wonderful about the whole thing, but, well, she don't know the half of it.
You mean there've been other women?
Oh, nothing of the kind. It's, well, frankly, it's the business.
What about it?
Well, I mean, I tried to keep it from her. What with, well, everything else, no point in her worrying unduly, but this, it's hotting up. And with you so busy at your fly-in, I haven't known who I could turn to.
What do you mean?
Well, you recall Philbrick and his newspaper campaign against me a while ago, insinuating Tono Bungay was overextended, and well, a closer look at our figures...
I don't understand. I thought you and your lawyers threatened libel.
Oh, we did, and that stopped them in their tracks for a while.
And if, as you say, we're sound...
Oh, we're sound, trust me for that, but all the same...
Uncle...
There's such a lot of, well, imagination in these things. Truth be told, we was a bit, overextended. First, everyone ignored it. And finally, I kept banging on so, and, well... Now they're threatening to come into the offices and turn our accounts upside down, checking who's owed what, seeing if monies have gone missing, why there's surplus here and that deficit there. George, you're the only one who can step in here and sort it out for me. George?
When are they due?
Oh, why? End of the month, I believe, but...
So you can spare me for one more day?
One day? Well, of course.
Just one day, and I'm with you, Uncle. Whatever you've done, whatever they say, we won't go down without a fight.
Oh, God bless you, George. Just to hear you say that with that whoosh of yours, why, it bucks me up already. It could almost be Napoleon speaking.
Ready, Arnold?
If you say so, Mr. P.
We did say today.
I was overconfident. I want one more week.
It can't be done.
Why ever not?
A long story. Business crisis at my uncle's. Besides...
Sir?
Oh, nothing. Just that a friend said she might pop over to watch. Oh, now, don't frown like that, old chap. What say we roll him out? Give him his head.
Well, you will be up there, Mr. P. I've never crossed you before, and I won't start now.
Good man.
Here, up you go. Now, you remember, sir...
I know. Wide circle over Lady Grove, back across here, then out towards Effingham.
But the essential is those blooming nets. The first sound of a problem, you shut down the engine, tighten the bag, and...
Arnold?
Watch its nose, won't you, sir? For your own sake. Good. Now bring her round. Slowly, damn it. That's my boy. Straight as an arrow. Oh, that's all we needed.
Am I late?
Oh,
take it you're Mr. P's friend.
How long's he been up?
11 minutes 23... if you just watch that horse, Mum.
Heavens! He's coming back this way.
Mum, please, control that horse of yours, will you? If it starts to kick up, it'll distract him.
I'm not a complete fool.
Like a bird! George Ponderevo, you're a bloody genius!
Diane, steady. Steady.
If we can just manage to...
He's coming in rather low, isn't he?
Mum, I've told you before.
There, boy. There.
I've told you. For God's sake, hold that beast.
I'm trying to, aren't I? Oh, boy. Whoa. I think he's made it.
Oh, and no thanks to... Oh, damnation.
George! George?
Beatrice, ow. What's happened to my face? Oh, don't tell me. I died and went to heaven. You're my appointed angel.
Oh, George, don't joke. You've really been very ill. In fact, by all the rules of the game, you should... nurse?
Yes, Mum?
I think you deserve some fresh air. You couldn't just pop down to the gatehouse, could you? See if there's any post?
Well, if you wish, Mum.
Where am I?
You're in my stepmother's house. The dower house at Bedley Corner. They had other plans for you,
They?
but... Your aunt and uncle... Courthope, Carnaby... But I insisted.
Then you are my guardian angel. I'll be... I had these dreams. Such dreams. Heat, swamps and mangroves.
That was your fever.
Men so hungry for money and power they'll go to the ends of the earth for it, through sickness and disease, through jungle and tropical forest, and me, I was the worst of them.
You were sick, that's all.
I dreamed I killed someone. How is it possible, Bee? Such greed, such appetite to plunder and loot and pillage.
Look, you're back and I'm here, beside you.
How long have I been away? Well?
It was very serious. When I saw you lying there on the ground like that, I did think you were dead. You fell out of the Lord Roberts straight into the Farthing Hill beaches. In a way, I suppose that was your salvation. But the end of a branch went right through your teeth and gums and out the other side. Oh, don't worry, you vain thing. You won't turn into some sort of gargoyle. They say it'll just be a scar.
I asked how long.
A month.
A whole month? Bee? Will you marry me?
Stop that, George Ponderevo. You're not fit to marry anyone at present.
I want to talk.
And I don't want you to talk. In any case, you're not meant to.
I know my mind's a bit confused, but...
George!
I want to touch you.
What do you think you're doing? Put your hands down. Down by your side. Lie back. That's right. And I told you, don't talk.
Well, will you marry me?
How can I answer you now? How can I say anything?
Does that mean no?
It has to be no.
But when we met again, I suddenly
I
realised...
can't marry. I can't and won't. Oh, George. Why did you have to talk? Couldn't you see?
But what is it? Is it some circumstances? My social position?
Oh, damn your social position. Let's get some air. I say, I do believe I sent Nurse out in the pouring rain.
Bee.
You didn't even ask me if I loved you.
Then if that's all...
No, it's not all, for heaven's sake. It's not even a small part of it. Of course I love you. With all my heart.
Then why the devil...
Do you know this one?
Bee?
Yes. If that will make you happy, I'll even marry you too. And since I'm not allowed to kiss you, just listen. Understand once and for all I am yours. I am yours just as if we had been married for 50 years. Beatrice, your wife. Is that enough? Now will you rest?
But... well, in that case...
Because there are, as you say, circumstances. Because there are complications. When you're recovered, you'll be better able to understand them. But for now, a secret between the two of us. Do you promise me that?
Yes, of course, but... oh, if I could only just kiss you now.
I'm sorry, George.
Oh, Bee, you can't go, not like that. Oh, my God.
Now, we're all hoping this time, sir, you'll take things just a little more gently. I've brought you some tea.
And Lady Beatrice?
She's gone.
Gone? Where?
I don't rightly know.
Well, she left no message, there's been no post?
Both, sir. A note left by Lady Beatrice.
Here, give it here.
George, don't try to find me. I could be in London, Paris, Wales, or Northampton. Godspeed your recovery, my darling. I'll explain everything very soon. Your loving B.
Also this telegram, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry?
They just brought it up from the gatehouse.
Oh, right, give it here.
George, delighted to hear you're better. Come quick, even double quick. Bad things brewing. Yours, Uncle Teddy.
Nurse, would you say I'm fit to be up?
Well, sir, I don't know.
Now, do you think you could find my clothes? Double quick.
George. Oh, my God, it's good to have you back. You've already read the newspapers, of course.
I have, on the train.
Oh, it's bad, George. And it'll get worse.
When's the adjudication?
Tomorrow morning. But it's not just the bankruptcy.
Then what?
Well, it's all tied up in a skein. You've been away so long and everything's got so complicated. At first, well, just a loan like here and there. I shifted some monies over from the Tono Bungay pension fund, just temporary like.
Oh, my God.
So, when it came to this last audit, well, I had to think fast.
So the figures were wrong?
Well, I wouldn't call them wrong, exactly. Just strained, George. They're talking fraud.
So, Uncle, what can I do?
Well, frankly, the more I think about it, George, the more I realise it's better for me and for everyone if you stay out of things a bit. Yes, Napoleon at Moscow. Comes a time there's certain corners you've got to turn alone.
And Aunt Susan?
Yeah. She'd like to be in the battle with me here in London, but... I'll tell you what. You might go down to Lady Grove and keep her company, but I'll be down myself as soon as I can get away. Well, thank God for the weekends, eh?
My, better than ever. So now we call it...
Why change the name? I call it Lord Robert's Beta.
Good for you. You've seen the papers, Arnold, about the adjudication?
I have. Tell me, was there ever a country so puffed you up only to shoot you down again? And your uncle, Mr. P.
He's bearing up.
One thing's for sure. There'll be no more money for this kind of thing.
Sir?
All we had was in the game. Imagine, the work we put in on it. How can it be allowed? Arnold, I'm thinking. Before they catch up, before they know what's what, I'd like to try it just once more.
Try what?
The Lord Roberts? Soaring? One last time? Can we do it?
Can we do it, he says. Oh, yes, sir. Believe me, we can do it all right.
Are you serious?
Never more so, Aunt. At least till things have calmed down.
But is it safe?
It's safer, I'd say, than staying here and seeing poor Uncle Teddy pilloried by the newspapers each day and then, well, who knows, dragged screaming to the law courts for fraud.
Oh, I can't stop thinking about it. Poor Teddy and that adjudication. Won't they be deciding by now? Have some more soup, George, while there still is some.
Why not? Uncle!
Oh, it's all up, George.
What, adjudicated?
Well, no, not yet. Oh, it's cruel, George. They asked me questions. They kept asking me questions. Bloody bullies. It isn't fair play. The barrister chap, Whittaker Wright, he don't ask a civil question, he bellows. And this is a man I've sat next to at dinners. Why, Whittaker Wright, I've given city tips to, I've helped him. Well, when they broke for lunch meal, I couldn't swallow a mouthful. My stomach's all wrong. Has been for weeks because of this, and you know me, I put the coals, and this one's on my chest.
So...
Well,
Teddy!
Oh, I couldn't face it, Susan. I said I'd get a bit of air and slipped out down to the embankment.
Are you saying you bolted?
Oh, Teddy, my poor love.
Then, well, I came on down here. That's for them others, still up in London, no doubt, doing what they like with me. They were springing things on me, things I didn't expect. They rushed me. I'd rather be a 3-card sharper than a barrister. I'd rather sell cat's meat in the streets.
Sit you down, Teddy. There. Under your collar.
The absconding's not too bad. Bad for the look of things, of course, but, well, they'll just call you up again for the rest of the examination, Uncle. That's all.
Just to be baited and bullied and bellowed at all over again. Besides, that ain't all.
How do you mean?
Under the strain of it gets so you can't remember what you said, and you're bound to contradict yourself, and I done things, and it's bound to come out. Well, apparently has come out already.
What things?
Well, you know, writing things down, signatures when people wasn't around. See, I was in such a hole.
Oh, my God.
That's right. Oh, George. Susan. It's forgery.
Poor old Teddy. Poor old porpoise. Look at him. He's fallen asleep. Not surprised what he's been through.
That settles it. I've made up my mind.
The Lord Roberts. Oh, George, I don't know.
Can we think of anything better? At least until things blow over.
You will take care, won't you? You promise?
I promise. And we go tonight.
All set, Mr. P. And, your uncle?
Oh, we'll manage somehow.
No, Napoleon was just the same all through Waterloo.
Give me a hand to get him in, will you?
Yeah, right, you are. Here we go.
Still, there was always one last chance for old Barney.
Yeah, if you just...
The light fig, wasn't
There's
it?
only one thing for it, sir. You take the left arm and I take...
Gotcha. Hold tight, Uncle, and... Uncle? Gosh, are you all right?
Yeah. Leipzig. That was it.
And remember, Mr. P, the difficult bit, that's the added weight.
Don't I know it?
So the moment you're clear and in, that's when you let slip the trolley. The rail will hold it.
Right. I think I got that. Anything else?
Nothing else. Except, well, good luck, sir. Now, sir!
Right! We've done it! We've done it!
Bye, sir! Bye! Good luck!
See that down there? It's Brighton. Not a light to be seen. Everyone in bed. All right for some, eh?
Mr. Whittaker Ride, I tell you, sir, you are no gentleman.
Uncle?
Nor your so-called colleague, Mr. Rupp.
Dream on, Uncle. In fact, why waste petrol? Perhaps I'll join you. Uncle?
Thank you, George.
Who else?
Well,
difficult to say. Over the sea somewhere.
The sea? Well, I'll be blowed. I'm afloat. I'm afloat.
Uncle, please, sit down.
Oh.
I thought we'd be east of Cherbourg by now, but...
George...
Nothing for it.
Oh, I'm hungry, George. I'm so cold.
And the brandy?
Oh, now you mention it, yeah.
Well, I'll be...
George.
There's a big town down there, all lit up. Well, that can't be right.
Can't see a damn thing over here myself.
Probably because it's night.
So soon?
But if this map's correct, then it's Bordeaux.
Would that be the Bordeaux 92, sir?
I thought we'd been pushed back east.
Or perhaps you'd prefer a little of the Cote de Ronde, say 95.
I think Bordeaux it'll have to be, Uncle, whether we prefer it or not.
Huh?
Here we go.
That's the style, George. Whoosh! 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 George, George.
It's all right. It's all right. I'm here.
I thought for a moment I was drowning. I couldn't breathe. Well, where'd you say we are again?
We're in France.
Oh.
Faut que je vous dise la vérité, monsieur.
France, you say, mais oui. Le style say l'homme. N'est-ce pas?
J'ai fait de mon mieux, mais ce ne s'annonce pas bien.
Oh, she's blathering on about, George. Who is this fella, anyway?
Shh, please.
Oh, I tell you, my good man, you can't get a safe 6% just by walking into our offices like that. No inventions, patents. We got all the patents we want coming out of our ears. You ask my nephew, George.
Monsieur, je vais vous parler franchement. Vous avez déjà demandé un prêtre. A priest? Monsieur, votre père, il est bon catholique? He is a good Catholic, your father. Well, Monsieur? Well, let us say, Father, he's always held great store by people's capacity for faith. Comment? Un homme de grande foi?
Aucun problème. Vous êtes prêt, mon fils, à recevoir les derniers sacrements? Vous êtes-vous préparé à demander à notre Père, le bon Dieu, qu'il veut pardon vos péchés?
I say, George,
Uncle,
I don't like the look of this fella either. That black gown of his wife. It's Whittaker Wright, I guess. The scoundrels sat me down even here.
Vous renoncez vraiment
I
à
know.
tous vos péchés.
I know, he's ganged up with the creditors, right? He's demanding payment of his dues.
Well, in a manner of speaking.
Well, listen, you blackguard.
Your sins, your trespasses.
What sins? Hey, George, what trespasses?
Indeed, Uncle. What sins?
Oh, I've been thinking, George. After all said and done, it's been a great career, has it not? Yes. A great career. Brought down only by the likes of Philbrick, of Whittaker Wright and the rest. Scoundrels, absolute scoundrels. But you mark my words, they haven't escaped me yet.
Try to rest.
Oh, it's too long, George, up there's too long, too cold. Lord, I'm too old for that sort of thing. Flying machines. Well, science, guessing matter. Yes, a great career, and yet, for all that, I shall be glad to rest. Very glad. I've got this pain in my chest. It hurts so much.
Oh, Uncle.
Oh, if only your Aunt Susan were here.
I've sent her a wire.
George, you've always been responsible for the science side of things, eh? Well, you know better than I do. So, is it proved? Either way. Huh?
Is what proved?
You know. That death ends all, huh? Tout fini. Oh, after so much. After such splendid beginnings. You know the way I see heaven, George? Well, I see it a bit like Crest Hill. Xanadu, cloud-capped towers, airy pinnacles, terrace upon terrace, reaching skyward. Kingdoms Caesar never knew. Well, after all, who can say, who can tell there ain't something in the fella that just, whoa, don't die, eh? Yeah. All of a sudden, I begin to see it clear, reaching skyward. And now, the residence of one of our great merchant princes, he stands on the terrace, the new arrival. You and me, we know who we're talking about, George, huh? He stands on the upper terrace, directing all the trade, directing
right across the globe. Imagine the scope for enterprise there, George. What a property, eh? What a portfolio. Heaven itself. Under entirely new management.
Uncle? Uncle? God bless you, Uncle. And Godspeed.
George, they didn't hurt him before he went. I mean, back there in France, them priests and them doctors with their injection from their...
No, not in the least.
Seeing him all stretched out there in the funeral parlour, I could scarcely believe it was him.
I promise you, Aunt, I was by his side all the way back.
No, I mean, without his old fizz and fizzle. Without him all snapping away. Hey up, George, it's good to have you back at least. And that Lady Beatrice of yours?
B?
You'll be seeing her again?
Well, I've scarcely had time to catch my breath, let alone...
Always liked her. Always. It's a rum-go life, ain't it? Who'd have thought when I used to darn your socks at old Wimblehurst? My, it seems an age ago. I'm almost an old woman now. Who'd have thought it would all end this way? Of course I'm catered for, money put away, but... Crest Hill? Oh, my. Just a pile of old scaffolding and bricks and plaster and stones. And I suppose now it'll stay that way. Remember the old shop at Wimblehurst, George? And poor little Teddy always rushing about, always talking 19 to the dozen and making that old noise of his. Oh, George! I wonder if they'll let him go on so in heaven. Oh, my heart's torn to pieces by this. And what if it's true he weren't a real husband for me at the last? I mean, after he got so tempted by business and things. What if it's true he had his deceptions and his little ways? If we could see the likeness of it. It weren't fair, George, not fair. Life and death, great serious things. Why couldn't they leave him alone? Oh, as for me, well, I was clever enough to see through it, but not clever enough to prevent old life knocking him about like that, puffing him up, and then smashing him like an old paper bag under my eyes. No, all I could do was jeer.
You never jeered, Aunt Susan. Never.
Oh, perhaps, I don't know. Perhaps if we'd had children. Of course we had you. Your uncle and me, George, we loved you as our own.
I know you did.
And we never said anything about it, but you understood and we understood. And then again...
Aunt?
Well, old Poldy. I suppose he was child enough for all of us, right?
And just witness this one, will you?
Sign here.
Yes. Well, I think that's it, Arnold.
I think so too, sir.
Lord Robert's Aeronauticals is now legally no more. And we've managed to pay off all its creditors, too.
A rum go, I'm thinking.
Arnold?
But that last time. How it flew.
Oh, didn't it, though?
We proved something, sir.
Indeed we did. And believe me, over at, Ilchester's, is it? It'll see you in good stead. Battleships, you say? Destroyers and the like.
You and me both, Mr. P. You're a hero over there to those chaps. The lightest plane ever made. Frankly, were you ever looking for a job, you'd only have to,
We'll see.
And this fine Lady Grove?
I fear that, too, it's just a matter of time.
Well, I'll be off then. And I'm glad the newspapers have started to see it your way. Bye, sir.
Beatrice!
Me!
Whose horse is that?
Carnaby's. Why'd you ask?
And, this way?
The wall's down, George.
Already?
Great bit of it. Between Westwood and here. So I just came through. I guess you'd be here. I rode over to see you. Oh. There, boy. There.
B, I'm not what I was. I'm just a vestige. It's all a chance now whether I roll out free at the bottom or go down a crack into the darkness and out of sight forever. See the little chalet over there? That pavilion? That's my one and only home.
Well, it's comfortable at least. You've even got chintz curtains. I thought you chaps were much too feckless to have curtains without a woman. Oh, but of course. Your aunt did that. Oh, and a couch. Oh, and is that a pianola? Does it play?
Like a musical gorilla with fingers all of one length. And, yes, a sort of soul.
So, what do you play on it?
A Beethoven, mainly. A little Chopin, sometimes. Wagner. And when I want to clear my head a little from all this damn paperwork I've been doing.
So play me something now.
If you insist.
I say, these things play better than I thought.
So?
Now I'm going to play something for you. We'll have a concert. Let me see.
Oh, Bea.
George? Oh, my dear George. My dear George. Are you awake?
Sort of.
Do you hear the birds? They sound louder than they did yesterday morning.
And the morning before that?
Perhaps you were less prepared to listen. I never believed this could happen. I've spent my whole life going about making love to men whom I could scarcely bear. And now I find you.
But why?
Why what?
Why did you never marry?
I ought to have. The opportunities I had were never particularly good, although we were poor, George. For all you might think, but always pretending and managing, hacking about on visits and things.
And Carnaby?
You know, one goes about to these huge, expensive houses, making oneself useful to other women, agreeable to other men. And of course one has food, and exercise and leisure. Oh my, what leisure. And with such leisure, with such space, a blank opportunity, it seems a sin not to fill. One gets bored. Bored beyond redemption. Bored to be always repeating the same vain pattern. Then Carnaby came along. And whatever you've heard about him, he isn't like those other men. They just go about having sex. Everybody's having sex. Me too, and not by halves. Carnaby was different. So, me, Carnaby, you knew.
Well, these last days I've had a lot of time to draw conclusions. I suppose once this would have mattered immensely. Now...
Nothing matters. Though I felt I should have told you. I wanted you to understand why I didn't marry you there and then when you first said... George Ponderevo. George the servant's boy. I have loved you, George Ponderevo, with all my heart and with all my soul since that first day I kissed you in the bracken. Only... will you believe this? I forgot. George. How is this possible? I forgot.
So just forget again. Everything until now. Marry me.
No.
Marry me, marry me, marry me.
We have had this time. And my, what a fine time it's been. Has it not? And such as I've had to give, a poor gift perhaps. It's been my all, packed in without reserve. You've had the best of me. But now we are at the end of it, and it's over.
Why? Marry me!
Oh, you think I, poor, spoilt, selfish little Beatrice, could take courage and come to you and be your everyday wife while you work, and are poor? George!
Tell me why not?
I fell in love with you from the first. Do not doubt it. But when you seemed a successful man, I told myself I wouldn't marry you, although I was lovesick for you. Although, for all you were stupid and trying to impress me, I did come so very near it. But I knew I wasn't good enough.
I don't understand.
I too have my reputation, my bad habits and bad associations. Just ask around. And now you're poor.
What of it?
If I wasn't good enough to be a rich man's wife, I'm certainly not good enough to be the wife of a poor one. I can't even do my own hair.
Do you think I'd care about all that if you were my wife?
Don't you see? Don't you see what I am? I'm a woman spoiled and ruined. Yes. And you are a ruined man.
I could become prosperous again. In no time. We start clean, from the bottom.
Do you expect me to be any sort of helper to you? Any sort of wife? Any sort of mother to your children? People can be ruined by wealth just as much as by poverty. I should be down and dragging in the first half mile. And it's because I love you. I won't take you down with me all over again.
You'll go back to Carnaby?
Yes.
And never the twain shall meet.
What?
Something my mother used to say. There's upstairs and downstairs, and never the twain shall meet.
Oh, George, we've met. Oh, indeed we have. You've been mine. Heaven and hell can't alter that.
And now?
And now, finally, my light goes out. Call it general anaesthetic.
They wouldn't have me, Captain.
Sir?
I built this destroyer to my own design.
Saw it through from first blueprint to last bolt. And then we offered it to our splendid English government. Would they have me? Well, you know my name. You know the scandal.
I read the papers, sir. Seemed to me that in the end they were rather taken by you.
Oh, don't the English always admire a buccaneer? Someone who sails close to the wind.
Well, sailing we are, sir. As for a wind... Look at it this way, sir. This country that's bought us.
Yes, Captain?
Yesterday, England. Tomorrow, the South Atlantic. We're all things that make and pass.
Indeed we are, Captain. Indeed we are.
In part 3 of Tono Bungay by H.G. Wells, George was played by Neil Dudgeon, Uncle Teddy by James Laurenson, Aunt Susan by Diane Bull, and Beatrice by Claire Holman. Cotthope was played by Steve Hodson, Lady Osprey by Gilly Mears, the Nurse by Geraldine Fitgerald, and the Captain by James Telfer. All other parts were played by the company, and Tono Bungay was dramatised by Nigel Gearing. The director was Claire Grove.